Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is like the first episode of basically trying to have like a group practice session on Patreon for anyone that really wants to stop by, go into like some group team building, bounce ideas off each other, and generally just get a good chance to get to talk to me in like a group session where we can build teams from scratch and work on stuff as a community here. And I heard that people wanted to build around Slitherwing first. So we're going to start talking about like Slitherwing. I think Slitherwing is actually like a pretty unique mon. It gets like photosynthesis right. It can be built with like booster energy, leftovers, clear amulet are all very, very solid items. It actually has a really, really good like stat spread. I've actually used Slitherwing in a few draft leagues, and I do like it quite a bit in VGC. I think it's really cool that it has like very, very solid bulk on this side. Like if you could, what are you really comparing it to? It's like a Volk, right? It's the like protosynthesized version of a Volcarona, which is like another really, really good Pokemon. So it has like a lot of the same like SPDEF stats in common, same HP stats in common. But that being said, like I was talking about before we started, I think the Pokemon that I compare it mostly to is like an Annihilape. And an Annihilape is a little bit harder to use in this format because it has that weakness to like Ghost. Like Goldango gives it like a hard time. Goldangos are commonly made a little bit faster than Annihilapes are used. And while they both have that fairy weakness, I think the fact that like Slitherwing can like go into a more aggressive Terra and get like a bunch of other unique moves that give it like additional flair, like, First Impression or Lunge instead of Drain Punch. I think those are going to give it like a slight edge in a lot of different situations. It also gets like access to just solid recovery moves like Morning Sun. So the way that I was thinking about using Slitherwing in this format would be something like Slitherwing and Mouse. And I think that that's just like not really a core that I think a lot of people technically use a lot. So you're gonna have that friend guard for damage mitigation from Mousehold, plus a little bit of redirection, and it can really enable the Slitherwing to go for those like setup moves like bulk up. And then you can just like basically one really cool thing I like about Slitherwing too is if you're playing it in Close, which is how I would be playing this Pokemon, is if you send out a Slitherwing, they're gonna be protecting or pivoting or trying to intimidate, and they're gonna be trying to block that first impression, right? So I think like being able to just go for like a bulk up on that turn makes this Pokemon like so much more valuable. Another really cool thing that I do like about Slitherwing too, I've made like one team with this in the past. I think I made it for the last time Reg F was legal, is if you actually go with like a Slitherwing and you end up with like some sort of weird like attack reduced nature Slitherwing, you can actually get the booster into speed, which is something that like never really happened. So if like if you wanted to run booster speed Slitherwing, you could. And like when I ran it, I ran like booster speed Slitherwing with like Steel Terra to like one-shot Flutter Mains. And it was a really, really unique like take on the Mon that I think a lot of people didn't really see coming. So what does everyone else think about Slitherwing? What do you guys think we should add to this team to really flesh out stuff that Slitherwing brings to the table? If you have any suggestions.
I've mostly seen, when I was looking up the Slitherwing sets, mostly I was seeing like high horsepower and leech life.
Yeah, leech life is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
For sure. Get that healing. And then, like, yeah, you do have a lot of good, solid options with Slitherwing. If we were to type in, like, physical stuff like that, it gets a lot of really cool stuff. Like, one of the cool days that I want to play Slitherwing, if I were to play it, would be something like Rillaboom here. So you could put like Rillaboom, and you could have your standard like AV Rillaboom, which is like very, very standard. Give me 1 second. So you have like your standard like AV Rillaboom with like the Grassy Surge, and you can enable something like a Grassy Seed Slitherwing here, and then you can go for like Acrobatics here. And so if you're playing in like a close sheet situation, like no lie, this cooks. Like you get to like dump truck like other fighting type mons and stuff like that. They don't really see this coming. I think this is like a really, really unique way to play this mon, and you have like so much sustain with like the leech life, the grassy seed shenanigans that goes on. Like, all right, so this is like a really good like anti-meta check to something like an Ogerpon Hearthflame. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's cool, right? So it's cool. And like, yes, you can get intimidated and stuff like that, and there's problems with things like that, but you can also like, redirect things. You can use like teammates that use like Helping Hand. There's a bunch of different ways to kind of play around those things. And while we do have like a weakness to Earth Flame Ogerpon over here, and they are faster than us, we can utilize different like mechanics to kind of play around that. I would say simply just having like a Fire Terra on this thing is going to make you kind of just block that Pokemon if you have to soak an attack from it. So I would say a set like this is pretty cool. Is there any other teammates that you guys think would be like good additions? Like now that we have our like main Pokemon we're trying to build around, our redirection, our fake out, and our terrain control, I would say that speed is probably the next thing that we actually need, like a good speed control mon. Is there anything that you guys think we're missing here?
Something with sun, possibly.
Sun. Okay, yeah, sun could work.
For the boost.
So it'd be
Let's
really
see. I'm not sure what it outspeeds though.
Okay, so it'd be really cool, right, if we could like fuse that role of like speed control and sun into one Pokemon, I think. Now you could say just put like a
Like wind.
Tornadus, right? You could say Tornadus, but I think that's an easy way out. And like having to manually cast Sunny Day here and Tailwind puts a lot of pressure on this Tornadus. I think that there's a cooler way to do that while still like fulfilling the same role, and that's on like a Flutter Mane, right? So like a Flutter Mane here that's like a Sash Flutter Mane with like maybe like an Icy Wind for additional speed control, similar to how Torn plays, and then just a hard cast Sunny Day. This gives us like a really weird out that like we wouldn't have. And then if we were to if we were to then pair this Flutter Mane with like one other Mon that would be able to benefit from that sun, maybe something like a Raging Bolt, or let's take a look at like some of the other Photosynthesis Mons. Maybe, actually there's one that I'm really wanting to feature, but let's take a look at some of these Photosynthesis Mons. Something like, where is it? You could pair like a Screamtail and go for like a Howl, but the one I'm looking for is Sandy Shocks, right? You're going to be able to get like double dip your speed control here. And I think you're going to get like a lot more value than you might think. And I think like Sandy Shocks could have like a lot of unique play on this team. How does that sound? Does that sound like something you guys would be interested in building around?
I'm personally quite interested.
Yeah,
As soon as I get to play with any like unusual Paradox Mons like Sandy and Slither.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool, right? And so, like, the cool thing about Slitherwing is, like, you have, like, good damage mitigation. Like, bug fighting, it has, like, solid weaknesses to, like, flying, fire, stuff like that. But it kind of is different with Sandy Shocks. Like, the ground and electric, that's, like, a really, like, unique pairing that you don't really see all that often. So we want to think, like, if we're going to be adding Sandy Shocks here, like, what ways would we be able to, like, break this Pokemon off into a situation where it's never been used, like, this way before? And I think a cool way to do that might be something like a Choice Specs one. Like, a Choice Specs one where we can lead with this Flutter, Sunny Day, get, like, a special attack booster on it, and then just dump truck something. Like, they lead with something, and they lead, like, Raging Bolt, and we just like one-shot them with like the most massive earth power the world's ever seen, right? So if we have Fake Out, Redirection, a little bit of speed control, potential speed control, and a setup mon, I think one last thing we could want is like a dedicated Trick Room mode, Trick Room Stopper, or we can get like a secondary form of like safer speed control, or we could even go with one more Pokemon that can kind of help out a little bit with the sun, and I think that's what I would want to use here, and that's going to be a Ninetales Kanto. I think that like this comes together into like a really weird situation where they're just kind of like, I don't know how to deal with this. And I think you can definitely like make this Pokemon work in a few different ways. I think Ninetales is also like a good partner for things like Rillaboom. It's a good like fire pivot for, you know, our Rillaboom, our Slitherwing. It's a good steel pivot for our Flutter Mane. It's going to be able to cut the damage from water moves from our Sandy Shocks. And I feel like Ninetales, if built the right way, could actually pin a lot of the Pokemon that would give this team problems. Does that make sense? Is this all coming together so far? Is everyone on the same page?
Yeah, I'm here for the ride.
Cool.
I just love Slitherwing and Ninetales.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole team is kind of just cool, right? And I think it does like a lot of things right. So let's get into building this. So now that we have our 6 Mons, the things that I like to do is just like add like moves that we might think these Pokemon want to have. We've already kind of talked a little bit about the Slitherwing, but let's talk about the Mousehold. Now we could build like a Follow Me like setup Mousehold, or we could just build like a Pop Bomb one. For this team, I do think we want that Follow Me set, which is going to look like, you know, probably like Safety Goggles, Friend Guard, stuff like that. We don't know if we want Taunt yet. We probably will have Taunt, but we know we want Follow Me, so let's have that for there. Rillaboom is probably going to want the Fake Out. Rillaboom's probably going to want the Grassy Glide. And Rillaboom is probably going to want like a Wood Hammer, right? So we don't know if we want high horsepower. We don't know if we need U-turn yet. I don't think we actually need U-turn on this thing. We can probably just hard swap. I think high horsepower is probably going to be right just to help us pin in Sins and Bolts and stuff like that, but we'll go into that in a little bit later date. We have Sunny Day, Icy Wind. This is going to be Focus Sash, Flutter Mane, so we can get away with a lot of different stuff here. We could go with like a raw Taunt, but I think just having access to like, let's organize these just a little bit better. Let's put Sunny Day up top. Sunny Day up top, and then we have like Icy Wind, and then I tend to go with like Shadow Ball, and then Dazzle and Moonblast are good. I think we can just go Moonblast is fine. I really like Shadow Ball here on these booster like speed Sash Flutters, and when you double dip your Ghost Hair, you can actually one-shot even like bulky Flutter Manes and stuff like that, and Goldangos and a bunch of other things. So I think this is a pretty unique Flutter Mane set, stuff that can be working for this team. For the Sandy Shocks, we know if we sort this by special, we might even be rocking like a Terra Blast on this thing. There's a bunch of like cool moves that this guy actually gets. It gets access to like Earth Power. It gets access to like Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, bunch of really cool stuff. I think that like Power Gems also like sometimes an attractive option. I think Volt Switch could be something that we really want in case we just want to lead with this thing and go for a good pivot into something. And then from there, I think like Thunderbolt's good. And then we're probably going to put like a Terra Blast here, but let's just leave it blank for now. Because I think, like, you know, there might be something like a Terra Blast Ice. Like, this thing does have the same speed tier as Landorus Therian, and they're going to be trying to use Landorus Therian to beat this, and if we just lead with it and just HP Ice it or Terra Blast Ice it, it's just gone off the table. For the Ninetales, we got to think, like, what are we really doing with this Ninetales? It's obviously going to be built Drought, but I think that there's one last little hole that we're missing, and is like a role for this Ninetales to actually succeed in like a really fast format. Like, we don't want to use a Ninetales and be at like the mercy of like a Shenpao just coming in hot with like a, you know, a big throat chop or something. And that's where I think like really like Scarf Ninetales is going to be really usable. You bring this thing out in the mid game after like maybe like a Volt Switch or even like a pivot from one of these two or something like that, and you just come out and you just blow things up. So you're going to have like Overheat, you're going to have Heat Wave. And then we can talk about like the last two moves, but like even like Scarf Hypnosis isn't bad. Scarf Dark Pulse, Scarf Encore, those aren't terrible moves. And I think this could be very viable. Another thing that we could do if we wanted to build like a completely like different way to play this is like a really cool like Howl Ninetales, which like could be built that way. Like Ninetales doesn't have that much lower attack than special attack. And I think you could build like a, you know, physical Ninetales if we wanted to. But I do like the Overheat. You build this thing kind of like a Chi-Yu, but in reality, like you're enabling your teammates more than anything else. So that's the idea behind this one. Let's go back and start adding more moves here. We have Follow Me. I think we are going to want Protect. Anytime you have that Follow Me, you usually want to have that Protect to elongate its presence on the board. Then probably a Taunt, and I still think Super Fang is probably right in this situation. There are a couple other options here, but I think Super Fang's probably going to be right. I think for this one, we will try the U-turn. Let's see if it's going to be correct. High Horsepower could be added if we feel like we need it in some subsequent matchups. We're done there. Let's think about any other moves we might want. Are there any other moves that this guy gets that we might want to like try using? We could go for like, you could put technically like a Sleep Talk there in case you want to pivot in on like a Spore or something. But there's probably like a couple weird things that might work. Let's see. Zap Cannon would be hilarious. I think that'd be too deep, right? Probably just Terra Blast. I think Terra Blast is probably the right one. We'll have to figure out our Terra later. And then for the Ninetales here, we're probably also thinking about maybe Terra Blast here. If we sort this by special, which we'll do in a sec, we're going to put Solar Beam here for now, just because we might need it. But let's sort this by special and see if there's any other like weird fire moves that would be really worth using, or weird other moves. Scorching Sands could be really good. Scarf Snarl could be very good, I think. Right? In those like really weird matchups, it's like Raging Bolt, you can just Scarf Snarl them and then like pivot out to Rilla, and once their bolts at like -1 and you have your Grassy Seeds active and you're kind of just going to town, you're going to be in a good spot. So that's going to be the Ninetales set. Go back over here, make sure we have everything. So now that we have all of our moves, the thing that I like to do next is work on our EVs, right? So the EVs, you want to get your speed tiers correct first. We're not going to be that fast on this guy, but we do have access to like +1, -1 calcs from like Icy Wind. We could even think about making this just like Electro Web, and that like wouldn't be terrible. I think that's probably pretty viable. And so since we have the access to those +1, -1 calcs, we got to think like how fast would we actually need to be to capitalize on things. And since this guy only really gets to be like this fast, since we want to get that booster, I mean, we could still technically build it like this if we wanted to, right? We could almost build it like that, maybe something like, I think that we want the special attack boost. So like we could build it this fast and make sure we outspeed base 100s, which means this guy doesn't even need to outspeed base 100s after a +1, -1, which like that only means we need to get to right here. Does that make sense to everybody? Since the things we're using to enable it realistically aren't that much faster, we don't need to make this guy that much faster to capitalize. And since like they don't have good matchups into like genies and stuff like that, you don't need to outspeed genies. Does that all make sense? Am I like going off the rails here?
That does make sense.
Got it. Yeah. So like when you are using something like a non-prankster boosted speed control, you don't need really to like capitalize if the Pokemon that are using that speed control can't capitalize on it as well. So like, for example, since Sandy Shocks can't outspeed a Shenpao, right? You don't need this thing that would be benefiting from the +1 and -1 to be able to outspeed the Shenpao at the +1, -1, since you can't really go for it in that one combo turn, if that makes any sense. You can do it with the Flutterman, but it's not going to be that way every single time, so you want to play for your lowest common denominator, which would be your Sandy Shocks. So this is all you really need if you even wanted to put that much in the first place, which again, this outspeeds Ursh after +1, -1, which I like, so that's fine. So I'm going to put that there. Since we have our speed tier locked up, we're going to play probably not full attack adamant. I think probably just for the low bump here, which is right here between 74 and 76. Just getting that 36 points in there. From there, you want to put the rest in HP. We don't have any intimidate users, but since we have access to bulk up, boosting our defense, we can kind of just dump most of these points into Spadef. That makes sense, right? I mean, there's not really anywhere else we're going to be using these points. We're just going to put those right into Spadef, and this is going to be paired really well with the fact that most of the things we are weak against are like special attacks, moon blasts, heat waves, things like that. And it's even when we go with a fire tear to resist those things, we still are going to, want to mitigate that damage as much as possible. Also leaning to the fact that we have like a very high base Spadef nature, so like I think it's going to just mitigate the most amount of damage. Does that make sense?
That does. I was curious on, are we keeping Grassy Seed on Slitherwing, or would it be better to just have like booster energy, or are we planning on always having like Rillaboom and Slither like together as a pair?
That's a great question. I think that like there's gonna be some matchup. So Rillaboom is so popular that sometimes if we can force their Rillaboom, we can utilize their grassy terrain to activate our seeds. But like realistically, we should be wanting to bring Rillaboom most games, I would say. Rillaboom's like the one safe pivot for like a lot of these Pokemon that we can go into to like regain tempo control and then repin. So
may I ask just like a meta question?
Yeah.
Is that what you would define as like a glue Pokemon?
I would.
Is that what that means?
Yeah, so it's like more of like a Swiss Army knife than a glue, right? So it's like, I would say like technically glue and Swiss Army knife could be seen as the same way, but since Rillaboom has a bunch more tech attached to it, like I would say Cresselia is more of like a glue Pokemon. A Pokemon you can go to soak damage and then kind of slowly get your way back into the game, kind of like fill up for bad matchups. That's what Cresselia is. A Pokemon that has like multiple different tech options that can get you back in the game. That's more of like a Swiss Army knife, which how I would see Rillaboom is. That makes sense.
Okay.
But it's very similar terminology. Into this Mousehold, we're probably going to end up going with like a safety goggle set on this just because we do need ways to concurrently play against Amoonguss. I always am a big fan of like a pivot to goggles or pivot to like grass Pokemon and then go for like a taunt and a retaunting Amoonguss. That way you're never really weak against Spore. And for this guy, we got to think like, what do we need to Super Fang? Like, what are our fastest Pokemon we're really trying to enable a Super Fang? Honestly, it's going to be Slitherwing, right? We're not going to try and get that much speed to be able to outspeed this guy, and we can't catch a Scarf, and we can't catch this, so we just need to outspeed Slitherwing. And I think realistically, like we don't need to be like super fast because like it's not really that important. So we already outspeed that thing by like a mile, quite a bit. We got to think like, is there anything else that we would like to go for a Super Fang on before we get a KO? And realistically, there's not that many things. You could say like maybe outspeeding Ursh would be nice, and that would be nice, but it's not like required. That being said, if we did want to outspeed something like an Ursh, that would honestly only really take like our nature, and you still want to go like 0 attack, reduced, even on Super Fang to play around Foul Play. That would only take right here to outspeed like Adamant Ursh. If we wanted to outspeed base 100s, that would look like, this would let us outspeed Lando I, which I think it's a little bit too much points. So I think outspeeding that Adamant Ursh is probably correct. We're using our nature and our highest stat here to get the boost here. After we set our HP, we want to make sure our after we set our speed, we want to max out our HP, and then from there, you can just go 212, dump it into Spadef. And the reason why you want to dump it in Spadef, honestly, is just because most of the format is going to be built around special attackers. Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, Goldango, Regidrago, Iron Crown, Raging Bolt. Those are all the big popular Pokemon in the format. And as far as like the big physical attackers in the format, things like Shenpao, we have honest pivots to things like Slitherwing and Ninetales. Against things like Urshifu, Rapid Strike, we have honest pivots to things like Fluttermane. So like, it sucks that like we don't really put anything in defense, but we can protect against most other things. And you might as well just hard pivot if you're afraid on the defensive side, if that makes sense. As for Rillaboom, I tend to make these things. I'm always more comfortable with the 0 speed Rilla. That way you can like potentially speed tie into these because these do share the same base speed tier, and you're able to basically just go for like if I lead with if I lead with Rillaboom and you lead with Indity and Iron Crown, and I'm slower than you because I'm 0 speed reduced, and maybe I want to speed tie or you're not. That means I can just turn 1, fake out your Iron Crown, and you can't size spam me, right? I'm always gonna want that option, and I really like the slow pivot that the U-turn brings, being able to soak as much damage as possible. The way that I like to play this guy, that since we set our speed tier, you just max out this HP stat. I tend to play for a higher bump in a lot of situations, which is gonna be up here, right around, where are we? Right around here somewhere. little bit lower, right there. Right there's the high bump, and then you just dump the last in 60, right? I've used this set in a bunch of other situations before. I like it. I feel pretty comfortable with it, and it lets you soak the right amount of damage, put just a little bit in SPDF to throw their calcs off by about 5%. Good rule of thumb is anytime you can usually throw about like 60 points into a stat's going to throw off your opponent's aggressive calcs by about anywhere between 4 and 5%. So that's pretty nice. So if they know for a fact that like their earth power from like a Landorus can KO like a standard 252 AV Rilla if we like go for like a fire tear or something like that, well, we have a good chance to live that if we put 60 points in here. So that's one of the reasons why I like to do it. All right, as for the flutter, pretty standard stuff. We probably want the booster speed in this one, so you might as well just go with 252. Usually I like to put those last 4 in HP or defense, just because it's a lower stat, so you're getting a little bit more value in that situation, but I don't think there's a real reason to like min-max and do anything weird with the flutter here just because we are sashed. And a lot of people are going to look at this team and think that like it's booster flutter. They're probably going to think like sash or covert cloak over here. They're probably going to think something weird like, if I were to look at this team, I would say, okay, that's weird. This is probably Life Orb. This could be Wide Lens or Safety Goggles. This is AV. This is Booster. This is Sash, and this is Cloaked. That's exactly the items that I would say like 9 times out of 10 are on both these mods. And so you see we're using a lot more aggressive item choices that punish people for respecting those defensive item choices like Cloak and Sash, right? And on our really aggressive Pokemon like Fluttermane, we have the defensive items instead of the aggressive items. Does that make sense how that kind of works? We're punishing people for respecting the, common items that these Pokemon would normally run.
Yeah.
Cool.
I did have a question on the Ninetales.
Yeah.
So I get that Scarf will let it actually be able to hit and like be aggressive, but what if I've seen it used before? You have Eject Pack on that, and so you like purposely put it in front of Intimidate and try to get an aggressive tempo off, and then you have your Overheat to try to force it.
Yeah.
Is that like too inconsistent, or is like why Scarf and not that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The reason why we're not using the Eject Pack Overheat set in this exact situation is because the meta is not really that tempo for Ninetales to work. I guess like for example, like if I were to do something like that, we would have to have like really good defensive targets that we want to go into to get those repins, and honestly our only one that we have is Rillaboom, right? So it's like I don't think that that's like that off. So like for example, if I were playing with that and I went for like an Overheat, or they saw that, or they see Eject Pack, they already know that I'm only could really go to Rillaboom in that situation. And so, like, again, Eject Pack is also a very common set on Ninetales. They might think that we have that and play accordingly. So when we bust out, like, the Choice Scarf Ninetales that has, like, a Ghost Terra, and they take, like, they don't see that pivot, they think, like, oh, it's probably Fake Out or, like, Eject Pack. Sorry, not Fake Out. It's probably a Cloak or Eject Pack or something like that, and they try and punish it. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. But basically, I think that the long story short is Eject Pack is too passive because like your Ninetales is slower than things like Shempao. Your Ninetales is slower than, the rest of the meta, slower than the Fluttermane, slower than the Landorus. And what we actually want is something that like we lead with this Ninetales, and like let's say we lead like Ninetales and Fluttermane, and they see that I'm booster speed, but they don't see that I was a booster there. They just see that I'm booster speed because of this. They're going to want to Icy with me. When they Icy with me and my Ninetales still outspeeds their teammate, I can still stick the damage that I want. So if you were to lead like Fluttermane and Lando, I'm still actually functioning probably faster than your modest Lando is if I'm timid. And that's like what we want out of this. So like that's the whole idea. We want Ninetales to actually have a guaranteed value no matter what. We don't want it to just come onto the board and just set Sun. If I wanted something to just set Sun, I would use another Sunny Day user. Yeah, I would use a Torkoal in some situations, but we can't have those reactive tools. We want to immediately go for these wins with like Sandy Shocks and, things like that. I know it's going to be hard to explain, but you're going to see when we actually get into games, when we do bring the Ninetales, it's going to be like an immediate like tempo switch where they're just like, oh, that's not normal, and like we just like one shot their Ursh with like a Solar Beam. So yeah, let's go into the Sandy Shocks here. The Sandy Shock's pretty standard. I think we can probably get away with just something like this. Very standard Sandy Shocks. This is going to booster into special attack, which is what we want. And I think I'm actually going to keep the double dip electric. We have so many electric moves. I think this is a lot of damage. I think like double dip electric Thunderbolt boosted in the sun would like one shot a Fergaraf, and I think that's amazing. I think it's like really crazy, and I think that's totally worth trying. And if we want to change it, we can. That's the whole value of this. And I think I was talking about going Ghost here. I think I might try the Grass, but I'm going to run the Calc first. So, like, let's see how much damage Ninetales does against like an Urshifu Rapid Strike. Because how cool would it be to just like weed Ninetales and just like one-shot their Urshifu Rapid Strike, their Scarf Urshifu, right? I think that would be like really, really sick. And it would just basically like gimp their one mon that they are kind of leaning on to leverage advantage versus the rest of our team. So if we put like 252 here, it's only 81 base special attack. It's not very strong. So we got Solar Beam. So Solar Beam doesn't do like a ton there. If we were to give ourselves like a modest nature, we can't still get that KO. So we're going to have to go either Grass Terra, which is an option. You know, Grass Terra is definitely an option if we go to click that button. Or what we could do is, let's see if we can get this with like Timid Nature and Grass Terra. We still get that, obviously, but we can also just use like Grassy Terrain. So if I lead Ninetales and pivot in the Rillaboom, I can just one-shot, right? I think that's like super, super cool. So I think that both those options are very viable to pick the Urshifu, and it allows us still the luxury to go Timid to guarantee that we always outspeed that Ursh, even if they wanted to go like Jolly or Timid. That being said, we don't need to be modest. I think we could, sorry, we don't need to be timid. We could probably try modest and just drop our stat down right here if we wanted, just by 1. I think at this point you might as well just go full speed investment. Force them to be like as aggressive as possible. And if they want to get the outspeed and potentially with like a Timid or a Jolly Mon, I think they might get it. And I think that's fine. I don't think it's really that big of a problem because we're trying to do a little bit of damage when we actually can make connections with this guy. So now that our EVs are done, let's try and go for our natures. We got Fire Terra.
Can I ask a quick question on that Ninetales?
Yeah, go for it.
With the Solar Beam calc you did, surely if you're leading against an Urshifu, they're either switching, like an Urshifu Rapid, they're either switching it out or clicking Rain Dance? Because it's in the sun.
So you're assuming that the Urshifu is paired next to a Torn.
Yeah, or they pivoted out. But like
yeah, they would U-turn
on lead in sun.
So they would U-turn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's baiting them into that. Because like if they wouldn't see that our speed tier, because the Urshifu doesn't have like an ability that activates when it goes sent out.
We're building it for Close Sheet.
Yep, yeah, we're building this for Close Sheet. Yeah, we're just building for Close Sheet right now.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's weird, but like it's finding like the few ways that we can actually get use of this slot that we normally wouldn't. So we got to find like every little opportunity to like cut for an advantage that we can. So normal Terra, I don't think we want normal. I tend to like a lot more of the like unique Terra choices here. So like Poison's one that I like, being able to mitigate damage from close combats, Glamoras, other like hazards and stuff like that. I tend to like this one. I also really like Fairy Terra on this thing. It's very, very solid into like Raging Bolts. So I'm going to try the Fairy Terra for this one today. Fire Terra is good there. I already talked about Double Dipping Ghost, Double Dip Electric, and then Grass. So that should be kind of what we want here. It'd be really cool if this works. So I'm going to move some of these mons around here, see if we can get some value.
Question.
And, yeah, go for it.
Does anybody ever use Terra Blast on Mouse Hold?
I don't think I've ever seen anyone use Terra Blast. What Terra Blast were you thinking? Ice? Or like what?
Just any, because it's stab technically, and
it's stabbed, but it's normally a special attack, right? So normally if you were to have Terra Blast here, it's if you were just use Terra Blast, it's a special attack. But if you were to like Terrastalize into like Fairy and have like attack EVs, then it would be physical. Because like normally it's special and that's like just weak. 65 is just not really worth the investment.
Oh, I thought it was whatever.
It's whatever's higher, right? Yeah, and that's only after you Terra.
Oh dang!
I know it's weird. Yeah, so that's why you see Pokemon like Porygon and Farigiraf just tech Terra Blast and Indeedee, because like they stab that move normally and have high base special attacks.
Gotcha. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. Yep. Otherwise, though, Terra Blast would be a really good option, right? Because you can just kind of throw that there. That would be that actually might even be good here, but like I think we're fine with what we're gonna go for. So let's just go into a game, and if this works, cool. And let's play like 1 or 2 games of this team, and then we'll get into fixing your guys' teams. I just wanted to build this since people were talking about Slitherwing, and we can go into some fixings after. So first game. So this is kind of weird. Greninja. This is like kind of weird, like Greninja. Enamorous shenanigans. There's something weird going on with this, right? So what we want to do is not really let them have any sort of weird combo play if they have it. So something like Mousehold could be a very good mon here. It's going to mitigate a lot of damage. We can probably soak 1 Make It Rain. I wouldn't be surprised if like Mousehold Fluttermane or even Mousehold Ninetales had a lot of value here, but they're probably going to be setting the sun. So let's try and go with like the Mousehold, and then maybe Sandy Shocks. Like Sandy Shocks has like a lot of value into these things. maybe like mid-game Sash Flutter, and then try and close Slitherwing. We're not going to be needing the Rillaboom here because we have like special attacker, special attacker, special attacker. We don't really need the Grassy Seed proc in this one. It's all going to be special attackers. And what we're trying to do is get like Raging Bolt versus like Slitherwing in like the late game situation, maybe just outvalue it. That's the idea. So let's see what they want to do here. If I'm going to guess items here, we're going to see what kind of items on that Torkoal. It could obviously be some sort of like Specs Torkoal with like, you know, Trick Room set. It could obviously be like Eject Pack. It could be Life Orb. It could be Charcoal, things like that. I think the Greninja is probably going to have some sort of like Sash. I wonder if it's going to be like AV or some sort of other like weird setup set for the Enamorus. We're going to see what happens here. They're also playing something weird. So we can just delete that. We can just delete that. Awesome. So I think the right play here is to respect the only Pokemon that's actually a threat, which is the Torkoal. So like I can just go for like a Follow Me here to block an Ice Beam and just, I can probably get away with, I think Thunderbolt's better to just lock into because we can Thunderbolt here, and if you pivot out to Bolt, then I can just Thunderbolt over there. So I think that that's probably going to be fine. I could probably also get away with a Volt Switch here, but this Sandy Shocks is going to be ripping this guy to smithereens. Follow Me. Icy Wind. Good play. But that's fine. Not gone yet. Friend Guard's kind of nice. He's Life Orbed. Wow. And Sash Torkoal. All right, that's not on the bingo card. Not on the bingo card. Very, very weird, I would say. Super, super weird. One really cool little mechanic that we can do right here is Super Fang the Torkoal to actually KO. If they're at 1% like that, at 1 HP, Super Fang normally does half, but when they're at 1, it will actually get the KO. And let's just go with this. Hopefully don't crit me here or high roll that Icy Wind. Protect Torkoal's going to be fine. Don't kill me. Nice.
Is that Super Fang thing because it like rounds down?
Yep. So Super Fang's gonna rip, and so now we're technically a mon up, but you know we are technically a little bit behind. I'm probably just gonna pivot. I think I'm probably just gonna protect here to elongate the Friend Guard and the Follow Me, and pivot out Sandy Shocks probably for Slitherwing to make them think that I have something like you know, they might think that I have like First Impression. That's kind of where I'm going, and then like worst case scenario, I just bring this guy back out and like try and repin that if I can. Worst case scenario, we eat a Heat Wave on the pivot, but it's not the end of the world. Because we can always just bring out Flutter and just like, you know, Moonblast out or start Shadow Balling and stuff like that. I think the fact that we have Sash Flutter is going to be very good. And thinking about what their last mon is here, it's probably not Bolt, because I think they would have sent out Bolt to fight the Sandy Shocks, because they should know that we're Specs at this point. But it could be Bolt. It could still be Bolt. Let's see the Slitherwing here. Survey says, attack boost. Earth Power block. Nice. That's what we like to see. Solar Beam, not going to have that one. Perfect. So we're in a great spot here. We can go for a few different things. I think that there's honestly like not really that much that we need to do with Mouse Hold. We can probably just take this L, maybe like try and go for like a YOLO Super Fang, and like maybe go for, like I think Fire Terra is good here just to block like a potentially Fairy attack here. Technically we can, I want to get this Torkoal off the board because like I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I think that's probably going to be right. Let's just go for a Leech Life into it. Yeah, absolutely fine. Being able to stick this is going to be a lot of damage. Let's go. Oh, we missed the super. No. And so the thing that sucks about this is I needed to hit that because right now Slitherwing's faster, right, than Mousehold. So that kind of sucks. So they can technically get up a Trick Room if they really need to. I'm going to try the Taunt here, and we're going to try a Bulk Up. Because I think they're going to be playing passive. I think they're Scarfed or Spexed on this guy. That's why they pivoted out from the Earth Power. So they might just Earth Power us back, but they shouldn't get the KO. And I'm going to try and get that Taunt. So let's see what they can actually do about it. It really sucks that we missed that Super Fang, by the way. Very, very unfortunate. But let's see what happens. I don't think playing like a passive like Protect Taunt play is all that valuable. I think you might as well just try and get as much damage off as you can with what you got. Stellar Terra. Yep, doesn't even do anything. Big bulk up right in your face. Taunt, let's see if you got Mental Herb. Survey says, no Mental Herb, and we don't even die. That's value, right? Power of Friend Guard really helped us out in that situation. So we're just going to go Follow Me into probably like a Leech Life targeting here. I think we'll probably be able to get a lot of value, then just close out with the Flutter. Cool. We just had to stop Trick Room. You know, I think Trick Room was one of the last things that was really that problematic. And I can't believe that was like Stellar Terra, Enamorus, like Earth Power. And we like barely took, we didn't even take half from it, being super effective into our fire typing. Or yeah, that's crazy. Friendguard's nuts. Here we go. Good damage into that guy. Big heal. Don't really care what they throw back. Sludge Bomb would suck if we get poisoned, but it's not the end of the world. And now we can come out with either of these guys. We're probably faster here, but I think just going like Fluttermane, just going like Shadow Ball is probably the right play. So Shadow Ball into that thing. Might as well just throw Leech Life into this guy, get a little bit of healing to outvalue. No, I know it's resisted, but we don't really even need to show the fact that we have Acrobatics at this point. And the Slow King, remember, can't protect. So, you know, one thing we could also just do if we wanted to, I guess, is like, you know, you may be thinking like, why don't you just Leech Life here and Shadow Ball there? And the reason why we're doing it this way is because we don't want to get crit by the Earth Power in this situation. We want the Slow King to always go down no matter what. See, like right there, you see like it went down? There's the super effective Earth Power, easy peasy. And that's Scarf Enamorous. So we didn't know that before. I thought it was like Choice Scarfed. But now that we know it's, sorry, I thought it was Choice Specs. Now that we know that it's Scarf, we can probably get away with like Icy Winding it. If we really wanted to, I think that might put a situation where I know it's going to give it a contrary proc. But I think that will probably, actually, that wouldn't help. It's not contrary. It's, I was thinking competitive. Now let's just go for the damage. Just go for Moonblast into it all day. So Moonblast into this guy, just try and rip a Thunderbolt, and we should be able to get the outvalue here. I think Fluttermane outvalues, but we'll see. Big damage, because we got that Sash. Cool. Able to close that one out. Not the prettiest.
The contrary buffed it.
Yeah, the contrary did buff it, but like it's fine. But we didn't want to give like a speed boost, right? Yeah, so that's crazy. So we were able to win that one. Pretty good game. Let's go into one more and just kind of see, you know, how it's going. I think this is going to be a good game to test against. They have multiple fake out users, redirection, speed control forever. This is going to be great. So I think like Slitherwing is definitely viable here. So Slitherwing could be really good in this situation. Ninetales is going to set that sun if we want it for the whole match. We got to think though, what Pokemon do we really need to be bringing in this matchup? I think Slitherwing could be good. I think Rillaboom could be a good defensive pivot for things. So something like Mousehold and Slitherwing could be very valuable. Even like, you know, something like a Rillaboom could be really, really good. I'm really worried about the Iron Hands. I think I need to bring Sandy Shocks at some point. So like that's looking more like Slitherwing, Rillaboom, Sandy Shocks, Flutter. Let's see if that one works. Awesome. So we're going to Soak and Intimidate. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, we just need to get our, you know, sort of like seeds and stuff active to get the defense boost. Hopefully they're not Wisp in Sin. I think we're just going to protect here. And you see that the Incineroar's Intimidate went before our Rillaboom's Grassy Terrain, so he's like not zero speed reduced. I think we can get away with a hard pivot into this. We don't need to go for a U-turn because we don't want to soak the fake out. And then we have like a good Earth Power pin into that Incin if we want it. Flare Blitz doesn't break us. Sludge Bomb doesn't break us. What doesn't break us makes us stronger. All right, let's go for a Bulk Up. And let's think about what we actually need to do here. They know that we want... I think what I'm going to do is just Volt Switch the Incin and come back in with my Rillaboom. Because they're probably going to be hard pivoting into something like, I'm imagining hard pivot into Ogerpon. And I want to come back in unintimidated. Because they also want to recycle that Intimidate onto our Slitherwing. That's something they definitely want to do. I doubt they would just sit here and just eat this Earth Power. But, you know, what do I know, right? Yeah, I guess they would have. Holy moly. That's fine. Not the end of the world. We're going to probably be able to get the Bulk Up off first. Yeah, so it's a +2 defense, pretty valuable. Parting Shot makes us go back down to -1 attack, but like, even if you rip a Spore here, I think we are going to be in a usable spot. Roaring Moon's fine. We have a Fake Out pin if we need it. Let's see if they Spore here. Spore there, absolutely acceptable. Just going to chill. Try and wake up. Not that much they can realistically do in that situation. The fact that we already have like +2. Yeah, so they have the Flying Terror, so all we have to do is Terror right back if we want to. Sludge Bomb's fine. In this situation, I don't mind going for this, but I don't know which one of these is probably better. They photosynthesized into attack, so I think they hit the Rilla, if I'm being honest, but let's just go for a Bulk Up, and let's try and go for a U-turn here into the Roaring Moon. Yep, knockoff's fine. I can't do anything about that, right? Trying to wake up. Can't poison me when I'm asleep. Cool, so we can come with Flutter here. Fluttermane is going to be able to Icy Wind and get a lot of value in that situation. I think I still want these Bulk Ups, but I can't really get this Amoonguss off the board just yet. I wonder if they're going to protect and go for a Spore here. I can't particularly deal with that very well. So what would be the right play? The right play in this situation, we're never going to get any value off of Icy Wind. We might be able to get like an attack boost off there. Let's see. I think I'm just going to go for a Sunny Day and start getting this guy active. Like, I can't do that much about this Roaring Moon. Like, I honestly just can't. Yep. Doesn't do a ton. 3 turns sleep. Wow, never lucky. Never lucky, dude. Holy moly. That's probably just game. Like, 3 turns sleep is bad. So we probably should have brought Mousehold. I'm surprised they even brought the Amoongus in this situation. But let's see. Is there anything I can do to get out of this? Any crits that we could go into? Like, a crit on the Amoongus there would get us out of this, maybe, but I doubt. I guess that you just go for maybe a Wake Up, Protect, Hard Pivot, Sandy Shock, and hope that Sandy Shocks is faster than Moon, but they're probably just going to take that slot out. Hopefully they take the bait into this, but we'll see. Dragon Dance. Wow, this guy's set has it all, doesn't it? Perfect. So we wake up there, but now we're too slow to actually get anything done. So the only play you can actually make in this situation and get out of this pin is a double protect there in case they want to take the bait, and then like a Volt Switch back out into our Flutter Mane. And that's only if they're playing like bad. Which, like, they've played bad twice, so, you know, maybe they'll play bad again. Yeah, let's see it.
So you're trying to hit the double protect
Yep.
to survive the Roaring Moon?
Yeah, so it's not even survive the Roaring Moon. It's that our protect is on cooldown, so usually when protect is on cooldown, you want to see, we get the double. Do you go into the... You see, they're bad. They're bad. Oh, see, like, value hath been wrought today. Holy moly, right?
And then you bring back the Flutter to
And block
tank the Spore.
Yep. Hey, that was the only... they spored that same slot. So that means they're, like, really afraid of, like, this thing getting out of hand. That means that the last Mon might... I don't think... It's probably Flutter, is my guess. It could be Hands, but, like, it might be Flutter. And, like, it's... This guy's getting out of the range of, like, things they can handle. It sucks, like, we're going to come in and get double intimidated, but we have a ×2 defense. So it's like, we have a lot of good options. I think our Flutter Mane's probably not long for this world. We're going to get spored into a million pieces. So I'm just going to go for a Leech Life while I can. And let's see. I wonder if that's Citrus and Sin. That would really suck. We have to be asleep here. Yeah, let's just go for it. Fake Out's fine. Yeah. I don't care if you want to spore me. Like, I honestly don't. Like, this gives my Flutter, like, chances to wake up. Cool. He's not
For
sporing.
raw damage,
Yeah.
is the Acrobatics, would that hit harder than the Leech Life would?
Oh, the Leech Life stabs, so it's still a 120. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, so Leech Life's still stronger, and it gives me healing, which I actually really want in this matchup. So I'm just going to double the Ensign here. Try. See if I get a wake up. I think it might be Citrus and Sin, but, like, I'm really trying to get the value out of this Slitherwing here. And I think like, Sandy Shocks is, like, a usable Mon into that Amoongus. I think, like, honestly, we probably do, like, 70% with Earth Power. So if you throw really hard, I got shots. And the reason why he spored, like, this same slot, the turn that, like, he doubled into it with Roaring Moon, is because he was trying to anticipate Sandy Shock switching in over there. Cool. Yeah, he timed out that turn. Value. You got Citrus or not? No Citrus. Cool. Respore is absolutely fine. We're probably going to wake up this turn on our Flutter. We've been asleep for 2 turns. So this turn, because we're asleep, I kind of want to pivot out because I'm at -1,000,000. I think I'm going to try and take an aggressive turn to pivot in my Sandy Shocks and go for a Moonblast into the Ensign. Try and pick up that KO. If we get to wake up with Flutter Mane, that's great. But at this point, we just need to get Sandy Shocks on the board to be able to repin the Iron Hands or the Ogre Pawn if they have it. That's the idea. And against, like, Flutter, it's not great, but, like, we would then come in with our Slitherwing, who's still asleep, but at the same time, like, we wouldn't have the minus attack stats. Here we go. Sandy Shocks, don't die, buddy. Where's the wake up? Give me his KO. Oh, yes. Value.
Nice.
Value. Not lost. So there's no protect on this guy. And it is Iron Hands. Value. Okay, so all we need to do is just pivot this thing out to come back in and go for Earth Power, right? So that's all we need to do. Because, like, we don't want to get fake outed killed, right? So you just rip that. Fake out. There it is. Moonblast, great damage. You can respore here. Absolutely acceptable. We should be able to get the value here. So in this situation, I think that we haven't even started our sleep turns. So we're just going to take the L. We're going to try and protect. We're going to lose one of our Mons here. Hopefully we don't lose both of them to, like, Sludge Bomb plus, like, you know, something stupid there. But there's no reason to, like, swap in the Sandy Shocks, I don't think. I don't think that's the play. Wild Charge, take some chip. Love to see it. All right, not dead. Okay. So they have already teared the Roaring Wound, so we are actually safe to do basically whatever we want here. We're going to Acrobatics. Hopefully they are not Rocky Helmet, but we're going to find out. All right, survey says, wake up, wake up, wake up. There it is. Big damage. Massive damage. Citrus got on that guy's a lot of damage. They do get the KO here. I wonder if we can outvalue. I don't know if we can. I think our only out is honestly to like Acrobatics crit them because we didn't know that they were citrus, right? So it's like that's 50%. Technically, we would do exactly enough with a crit since it's like a 1.5. So like that's cool. I wonder if it's more value to leech life them here. It probably is because like I wonder if they know to spore. Let's go for a protect and see if they know to spore. All right, they don't. So how much damage were we taking from that sludge bomb? Let's scroll all the way up because we took a couple, I think.
I think
Sludge
there was
bomb.
one towards the bottom.
Yeah, let's just find it. Sludge bomb.
like-
Slitherwing, 21%. So we can actually live through that if we leech life. They need to be sporing. Ah, good play. So if we would have actually clicked that last turn, we would have won the game. Technically, we can get like a 1-turn sleep. Wake up doesn't really matter as long as you don't crit me. All right, so if we get a 1-turn sleep and we hit this, we win the game. Nah, GG's. Ah, so close.
Damn.
Dang it, no, that sucks. Oh, dude, I can't believe they went for the sludge bomb. Like, I should have just went for the leech life right there. Because, like, we basically, by showing the protect to, like, go back and find out if they knew what to do, we told them that was the way to do it, right? You know what I mean? But he did make the massive misplay by doubling into the Mon whose protect was on cool. And that was, like, my only out to actually come out and win that game.
17 turn game.
Yeah, so it's a long game for like a best of one, stupid team that's not supposed to go that hard. I think we tried our absolute best in a pretty rough matchup. That being said, I worked on this team for a while. Is there any other teams that anyone else wants me to take a look at or work on, or let you know what I think?
I did have a team that I could throw at you. It's similar to the one that you looked at for the team fixing stream that you had.
All right.
I haven't really touched it, but I'll just send it to you.
Perfect.
While that's coming through, can I ask a question about the speed tier?
Yeah.
Just in that second replay, I don't think you've got it anymore, but
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I think when you led the Ninetales Flutter
Mm-hmm.
into the opposing Ninetales like ice one,
Yeah.
you've got a funny speed where in Sun, Flutter outspeeds
Ninetales.
your Ninetales,
Mm-hmm.
but then if they set opposing weather, then Ninetales outspeeds Flutter, and Flutter would be the one to then manually click Sunny Day.
That was the idea over the that was like the idea is like I could then manually click the Sunny Day and kind of do whatever I want against like their Ninetales to stop Auroras.
Yeah. But I think into like
Rain? And again, into rain, that would suck.
And,
It'd
like,
be
your Ninetales.
Yeah, that would be
become
bad.
super weak.
Yeah,
and your
I would
Flutter's
not.
Slower.
I would never lead Ninetales into anything that could manually set rain, like ever. That would never happen.
Yeah. And that's particularly because rain is making your fire weaker, but whereas snow, you can
still
build
hit
up
them.
with
Yeah.
fire moves.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the idea. So we're gonna take a look at this team from Xantho. They were talking about maybe making. Is this the one you wanted to try and make electric terrain work?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So the first thing you want to think about, if you're ever going to be trying to make electric terrain work, the number one thing is to have mons that can benefit from it. So like these two can't, right? Not even a little bit, right? So it's like,
Sure.
I don't think that like these are the right mons for this team. You don't need to fill it with like quark drive mons, but you might want to talk about like, let's just cut this for one mon and use an example here. Like you could put like a raging bolt in this situation and actually utilize like
Rising voltage.
Rising voltage, yeah. So I think that like that's something that you could do with this team that you normally like would not be able to do. And then I think having like a speed control mon, you could use something like this, right? I think Talonflame is like acceptable, but like if we were to go into like Tailwind and think about like all the other mons that actually get Tailwind, there's like a lot of different ones, and there's a lot of good like prankster ones. You can even use stuff like Murkrow and things like that. I think Talonflame like kind of works, but only in like very, very niche options where we're gonna like flesh that out in a second. I think if you were to keep these mons, it can definitely work. I think if you're gonna use an Ogerpon Cornerstone, this is a good set for it. I technically tend to go Hornleech here just because I want to recap those sashes, but like Power Up is very good in some situations. With this guy, Rising Voltage is good. We're probably gonna go Assault Vest here, so like Rising Voltage, like Snarl, Thunderclap, and then probably just Dragon Pulse. So basically you're just cutting Thunderbolt for Rising Voltage, and I still think that like I did this for almost all of Reg G. You can just cut Thunderbolt for this move. It's so good. It's not that much weaker. Very, very solid stuff. Talonflame. I don't think it cloaks the right way. I think that you could probably get away with like a Life Orb here because you have Cloak and Ghost Terra. Because like, why would you need both of those, right? Doesn't really do all that much. And I think like with Wisp and Taunt, that's fine. But if you put like Flare Blitz here, you know, that's going to give you a lot more value. And then like, I like Protect, but I think the value of Taunt is good. Being able to just say like, oh, you have Frigraph? Like, no, you don't, right? I think that's super, super valuable. And now this is the reason why I wanted to talk about like the Ogerpon, the Talonflame, the Iron Hands, the Valiant. You could actually put a really, really cool move on this guy that no one ever really uses, and that's going to be coaching, right? So coaching with this thing's going to be a lot of value. You can actually cut the Clear Amulet on this thing too for the Cloak here, right? So this always lets you do whatever you want, right? Sacred Swords never stab, so it doesn't ever get you any value on this Mon. So you basically only ever want to be using these two things, and then from there, if you make the EV spread correctly, coaching is going to be a lot of value. As for the AV here, Ice Punch is good into Lando, Wild Charge, Heavy Slam, Drain Punch, these are all good, but you have to optimize the EVs. And then because we're using coaching here, we probably want to try and make this into a physical set, which I would greatly recommend. So that's going to look something a little bit more like, you know, I think Close Combat can still be good into a lot of situations, and Spirit Break can be good into a lot of situations. You can also put coaching on this thing if you want, but what's cool is you can actually coaching into your Talonflame and stuff like that if you have the right, you know, sort of setup going, which like I really, really like that. Another thing you could do that I actually kind of like is, what if you put your booster here instead? Change this to a Ghost Terra if you need to, right? Just in case you need to, and then put your Sash here. And now you actually have like a situation where you can immediately like coaching into Talonflame and go for like raw Flare Blitzes and stuff like that. Or you could coaching into your Valiant and just like dump truck anything with like if they have like, for example, like let's say they have like in Sin, like you can just go coaching over and just like one shot through their Intimidate, right?
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
And Iron Hands has AV.
Yeah, Iron Hands has AV, you're right. So we need to change this. I think Iron Hand should stick with the AV. So I guess like for Bolt,
Leftovers?
I don't think you want to go Leftovers Bolt because it's like so anti-synergistic with this team, and we're already using our booster. So this is where I would go Life Orb Bolt. We're already using Life Orb here, so that means we would want to change this to a different item. And I think if we were to change this to a different item, I like the Life Orb on the Talonflame. We're already using a... We're already using
that chess
Cloak.
here has opened my eyes to Sharp Beak,
I
dual wing beat. Yeah,
I like the Sharp Beak. I don't think you want to use dual wing beat on this one because there's not really like a reason for it. But like there might be something more valuable to put on the Bolt. Like Magnet Bolt doesn't make no sense on this team. I think another like really weird Bolt set, if you were to think about using it, like you could put even like Eject Pack Bolt and put a Draco on it. You know what I mean? There's definitely value in that. Goggles Bolt is sometimes valuable. I think those are definitely like options that you could do. Let's think though, what do we really want to get done with these guys? What would be the right thing?
Does Raging get Volt Switch?
It
Could
does.
We do some like Scarf?
Scarf Bolt, dude, that's actually something that I really am a fan of. Like I really, really like that. You cut the Volt switch for that. You cut the Thunderclap for that. I'm a big fan of Scarf Bolt because it gets just fast enough to be able to utilize those things. Right here lets you outspeed genies, right? So it's like absolutely massive. Like I've been a big fan of this for like a really long time. It's one of my favorite like Bolt sets that like you just never really see play with. I think like double dipping Electric Terra is fine, but at the same time we probably do want like a defensive Terra, right? I think Fairy is very standard, but I really am a fan of on teams like this, like probably still the Fairy. Yeah, I was going to say like a different Terra, but like Grass would be the other one that would be like the defensive option that we would want. I think that it might actually just be good because you can just still target what you want if like Among Us is on the board, or you can just like play around Spore. I like it. I think Grass is a good one here. Double dip. We got the Ghost there. Tailwind. Again, you don't really mind having like Jolly. I still think you want to be Jolly just to outspeed things like Meowscarada, which are uncommon, but you know, do pop up from here and there. For this guy, we want to get the speed boost here, so we take just a little bit out, and then from there you just go like a 4-4 92, pretty standard. I think you don't even need to have like this much speed, but you might as well just have this much speed because the higher your speed stat, the higher your attack stat gets to be, since we're trying to boost her into speed. And then for Iron Hands, you never need to have like this much attack ever. I actually tend to rock this guy with Thunder Punch instead, and I play him on like the low bump down here, right around 1 2 3 4 5 7, right there. I play it right there, and then you just like whoop. And you never really need to max up this HP stat either, just because it's like so bloated. When I play hands, I tend to go with sets kind of like this, with just a little bit more speed, just to outvalue other standard hands, right?
Okay.
All right, and then because like realistically, like, you're wasting points putting like that many points in HP and attack on hands because like it's just there to get the proc on the Protos or the quick drive and just be fine. And then from there, since this guy's sashed, you can click the button, easy peasy. I think having max speed, being able to outspeed Whimsicott speed tie. I believe Whimsicott is correct. Sort this by speed.
I did have another set that I lost. That I was trying to one with Pinchurchin and then another one with Thunderous.
Yeah. Thunderous is viable, but I think that like this one is like the cool one with like the electric train. I really, really like this. And let's just play, like I'm going to play a game with it and just kind of see what we're looking at here.
Pincursion mentioned.
Yeah, I know, right? Pincurchin's, it's a cool mon, but like it's not really worth the slot.
Drain Punch right next to Iron Hands is, and Acupressure. So it's just like boosting the shit out of Iron Hands is a lot of fun.
All right, so this guy is going to be a really solid lead, in my opinion. You can lead into most of those things pretty safely. Worst case scenario, you have to Terra away from something to not die. But I think this is a solid lead. I think that because we have Taunt here and Ghost Terra, that's going to be really, really good. Just being like, hey, no, worst case scenario, they lead like a Mungus Porygon. And if they do that, like they should not know that they should do that. Like, so maybe I guess the right play is like those two and be like, fine, I'll just set my electric terrain, I think that you can still get away with like Iron Hands in this matchup, even into like Ting Lu and stuff like that. And then we just need to bring like one Mon that's solid into Como. I'm going to try and force the Iron Leaves as opposed to the Bolt. I think Bolt is probably just harder to use versus that Ting Lu. So let's try and force the Leaves here. There's the Ting Lu and the P2. Right, so we're in a great spot here. We just have the Taunt and the Close Combat, like easy peasy. Sucks to get that special attack proc, but it's not the end of the world. Rip that CC, baby. Go for the Taunt, like to see it. Hopefully it's not Mental Herb P2. I've only ever fought that like once or twice in Close Sheet, where they're just like Mental Herb instead of Eviolite, but it's always funny when it happens. The ultimate mix-up. But you can see, like you had submitted the team with Taunt on the Talonflame, like it's really, really good because it's one of the few like dynamic speed control setters that like can still taunt things without being affected by like Dark Terras or terrains and stuff like that. So Fairy Terra, don't particularly care. Big taunt, resist there, but now we have the right stuff to beat it. Lash out. All right, are you doubling? No Trick Room. Cool. So in this situation, now that their Terra's blown, I think we could double the P2. And I think that's probably the right play. I would go for the Close Combat and probably... I like the Flare Blitz because it's really good into the Amoonguss. You could talk about going for it, a Brave Bird, but I think like being able to catch the Flutter with a Flare Blitz burn could be really nice. I'm just going to go for the Brave Bird anyways because it's neutral into the Incin. Oh, awesome. So P2 should go down. And Dumpied. Worst case scenario, we're going to lose our Sash or lose one of these Mons, and that's completely fine. Lash Out does not do that much since we are, kind of busted. Fairy fighting. People always think this guy's psychic, It's so weird this thing also warns Expanding Force. So there's a good Intimidate here. We're going to be a little bit weaker now, but I think we can probably pivot around this stuff correctly. I think, like, low-key, there's nothing stopping me from, like, manually setting an electric terrain and just, like, bringing in our Iron Hands. It's going to give us a secondary fake out. We can start doing some other stuff. It gets our Talonflame out of dodge. I think if they had, like, a more aggressive Mon, I think their last Mon's Como, but that's just my opinion. I don't really care if we eat that damage. It's not the end of the world.
That was a lot of damage for takeout.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be a heavy attack in Sin. Probably so like the fact that it did that much. Remember, we have a stat drop on our defense from the 2 close combats. But the thing is, like, it's probably still heavy attack, which means it probably has fake out, knock off, and Flare Blitz parting, right? So then we can probably nuke that thing if we really wanted to. I think I do want the electric terrain here just because I want to enable my Iron Hands. And then I wonder how much damage they actually take from that. I wonder if I should pull the trigger. I think I'm just going to go for the Drain Punch in here. I'm not really that afraid of this Ting Lu. There we go. Yep, not doing it. Tantrum's not going to get the KO. Big damage, big heal. Woo! Cool, big heal. So now I can just pop that Terra and probably be fine. I think that Spirit Break could KO the Incin, but I just want to make sure I'm going to close combat it. And then, like, Heavy Slam is not going to do that much against Ting Lu. Like, it just doesn't do that much. I think I'm just going to Grass Terra and Thunder Punch it. Because he's already Fairy Terra'd. So we get the Incin off the board. Easy peasy. If they wanted to pivot and Flutter, that would have sucked, but it's not the end of the world, right? And we just go for good damage from this guy. Boom! So, like, Wild Charge would have done, like, 20% more, not gotten the KO, and made us take recoil. See, there's that Como like we talked about. We knew it was there. We knew that it was there. I think that we can just get the Ting Lu off the board. Worst case scenario, they set up, like, a little bit, but we still have Talonflame and Leaves in the back, and I think we outvalue the Como no matter what. protect value. So we're also not taking the bait doubling into a Como. We're going after the very obvious Tinglu that we can go after. So Tinglu's going to go down. Oof. And then we don't even need to show that we have leaves. We just come in with Talonflame. We rip the absolutely massive Brave Bird into it, and we just go Ice Punch 2, and we solidify the Como. It was a pretty big tell that they had Como, I think, as the 4th Mon, just because they sent back out the Ensign, you know? Let's see if we can actually live this. I think we do. Yep. So it's very standard, like, bulk up, not bulk up, like body press Como. Oh, we got the flinch! Never lucky. All right, we'll just keep on playing then. What now? I guess Ironhead was the play, but it's fine.
I thought we EV'd. Oh no, yeah, we hit the button because that was Sash, right?
On
No,
Valiant?
the other thing I had, yeah. I thought we did a attack on Iron League.
On Iron, Valiant?
No, on Iron Leagues. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mixed
yeah.
words.
Yeah, so we got
But,
attack in here and attack on here.
So the question was like the Quark Drive says it has speed.
No,
I
no,
thought
it's
it was
supposed
gonna
to.
have the attack.
No, it's supposed to have the speed boost. That way you
Okay.
can correctly outspeed all your mons and go for the correct coaching boost. So like we want to lead like Valiant.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so we wanna like set that up correctly. Yep.
understood.
Yeah, so when we lead with Iron Leaves and Iron Valiant, what we want to do is go for like a coaching into this guy, and when they intimidate us, we actually still one-shot the Insync because our coaching brings us back up to neutral, and we one-shot them with stab close combat.
Right.
Cool. And another game.
I'm gonna jump, but thanks
Yeah.
for the session.
Hey, yo,
That
thank
was
you so much
nice.
for stopping by.
Are you able to drop the paste from that first team?
Yeah, I
I'd be
definitely
keen to
can.
try it.
Yeah, let's go. I will drop the pace for the
Yeah.
first team. Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by. If there's a team, you know, normally I think we would spend more time fixing your guys' teams, but thank you so much for putting up with the Slitherwing talk that we were talking about here. There's that first
I
pace.
think it was good.
I think it's a
I
cool
mean, like,
idea.
the one thing that was maybe missing from the team building was just, like the 3 team goals at the start.
Ah, yeah, we didn't
And
really
I think that would
go
have
over
made
that.
it super clear, like maybe the Scarf Ninetales role
Yeah,
was to come in and continue the hyper offense.
I think that, yeah, I should have probably
Um,
went over that in a little bit more detail.
But I think it's great.
Perfect. Yeah, well, we'll make them better next time, right?
Have
So-
a good one, guys. See
Yep,
ya.
you too. Thank you.
Have a good
So I think with this right here, they have like the Whims, which Whims is pretty uncommon on this sort of team, right? Whims is pretty uncommon. Normally you see a Torn here, right? So that's probably going to be, like, it could still be Urshi Water, but it might be Urshi Dark, right? So we got to think, like, what do we really even want to do here? I think we just go Talonflame and we try and, like, stagger correctly. And then we're thinking, like, what deals do we really need to do? We got 30 seconds. We still have a decent amount of time. I'm going to probably bring Hands. So I think I'm going to just go Talonflame Valiant and then probably Hands. I don't really know if like Ogre Pawns ever value. It's going to be hard to see.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to go with this one.
That's right.
All right, here we go. So what is that? Cornerstone Chi-Yu. Okay, that works for us. So we can just go Tailwind and pop the Chi-Yu if they want to go for something like Redirection. I don't particularly care, I think we can also just try to Tailwind Protect and then bring out our Ogre Pawn. But I think I'm just going to try and rip the Band-Aid off this Chi-Yu. I don't care if they go Ghost Terra. If they go Ghost Terra, that means they can't tear anything else. And if they want to go follow me and Heat Wave, like, we don't lose the game for that, Like, we're going to allow them to trade with our Talonflame if we're trading with their Chi-Yu, because we get the speed control out of it, and then, yeah, they'll have their Sturdy still up, but then we'll be able to bring out a version of them and hopefully get the value that we need. There's the Rock Terra double dip. Wow, a lot of value. Protect Chi-Yu. Wow, weird. Right? So when he does that, he gains the defense boost, but he loses his Sturdy, so it's like, it's not actually, like, better, in my opinion, because, like, now I can just go, like, fake out Pop, or I can just come in and Power Whip it. I think I kind of want to do that. Actually, what I'm going to do here is a little bit different. I'm going to come in and just Ivy Cudgel here and probably just close combat right here. If you want to go for a spiky shield, like, be my guest, but if you Ghost Terra here, I can still crit through that. Weird board, though. You don't normally see the turn 1 Ogre Pawn Rock Terra play.
And oh yeah, I was gonna say, and your sprites are different.
Yep. There he goes. Big into Indie. Can I get a crit here? Survey says crit. Spiky Shield. So we're going to lose our Sash. That sucks. It's not the end of the world, though, because we're sticking big damage into this Indie. No crit, but that's fine. Right? So I think the right play here is to still, like, Ivy Cudgel. And if you trigger me, I just hard pivot in Hands, and I think Hands actually beats all of your Mons since you already Terra'd. So I think what I do is just I think what we do is actually power whip that thing and close combat and just deal with it. Like, they're gonna stop it with the follow me, so like we just go into that. And so power whip, can we hit this? One shot this, easy peasy, bro. Oh! That's so good.
Nice.
Oh, that's so good. Love that. That's the power whip value right there. That's the power whip build different over there. So what do we got here? We have last turn of Tailwind. We know this has Protect. We know this probably is Scarf. So we're just going to double into this guy. He's already Terra down. So I think worst case scenario, he has like double Protects, which is fine. But like we can honestly just go like Ivy Cudgel and Spirit Break would break the Urshifu Rapid Strike. And since the Chi-Yu is shown to have Protect, it's not going to be Scarfed, which means even after our Tailwind's gone, our Ogerpon still outspeeds and can pin the Chi-Yu. There it is. And so we didn't need to like miss a power whip here. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
We just double into the Ursh correctly with the 2 moves. Let them go for their Heat Wave. It would suck to get burned here, but it's not the end of the world. He's a Life Orb. Wow, what a guy here. And so we're just going to go with an Ivy Cudgel. He's going to Protect, but it's not the end of the world. And he already blew his Terra, so it doesn't really matter. Yep, that's fine. And that's going to be the game. You know what? I'm going to do this just to flex on him, just because that's what he did to us, right?
Yeah.
There we go. Show you how a real person eats a chocolate sandwich cookie over here. Ivy Cudgel and Dunzo. And we get the crit. Yeah, we love to see it. So hopefully that kind of like opened your eyes a little bit to how like, you know, I would kind of build this sort of team. I think what we did is like, we didn't really get to use the Bolt that much, but we really cut the fat from like the Talonflame and like optimize like the Leaves and the Valiant to just be a little bit more concise to like get the right pins off the lead. Because like in every single game that we played, we had like really good turn 1s.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd be interested to see a line actually using coaching.
Okay, let's go into it. So coaching is good when they don't have like if there's no like turn 1 offensive pressure, like, you know, I think first game was a weird team, second game was like Crown. Like this team doesn't have like a coherent like thing that happens, so we can go for the coaching, right? So what we need to do is go with something that lets us taunt that, because like Trick Room would be bad, right? So that's there, but we can coaching the Talonflame here, and then that's what we're going to be trying to set up. And then for the rest of the mons in this one, I think that Iron Hands is still really good into like a lot of what they're bringing, so we're still going to bring the hands. And then I think Sash Valiant like could be good, but like it's really bad into the Sarah Edge versus like this is really good into Sarah Edge. This is actually good into all of their mons except for Gambit, and like that's fine because we have like 3 mons that are good into Gambit, so we can just go Ogerpon here. Cool. So there's Sarah Ledge and Mind Shout. Awesome. So you have this and this. So we got to think, which one are you going to be fake outing, right? That's kind of how this is going to go down. Who are you going to fake out and why? Now, I think you're probably going to go like fake out here and hit here. That's what I would see. So what I'm going to do is go Brave Bird here. And if you fake out here and I Ghost Terra, I still get to stick my coaching, which is what I really want. And we don't need to hit the Mind Shout because that's sashed. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely acceptable. You just want to stick this coaching. That's all we want, is to stick the coaching here. Coaching trades, and then you hit what? You hit right here? Bulk up. Oh my gosh. So he's gaming, but you see how much damage we did to it already? Like, look how much damage he's already taken, right? It's probably too deep. But let's see what we actually want to get done here. This is where if you wanted Dual Wing Beat, like, Dual Wing Beat would have cooked that guy, right? Let's think about what we want to do here. We have the speed boost. I'm going to go for a Tailwind to read a passive play, and then try and go for, like, probably a Psyblade. I could even weave in, like, a Protect here and then come with Ogerpon. I actually quite like that. Let's just go for Protect. Standard, like, defensive play. Don't need to be weird. You know, want to get a Tailwind up. See what I mean? We don't need to be weird. Just get a Tailwind up, and now we're going to nuke this Ursa, because, like, I don't care about your Sarah Ledge, I think. Or should I? Hard to say. Actually, I can totally ignore your Ursa. We're going to go with Brave Bird into that, and probably a Psyblade into it. Probably going to pick up the KO, because we have the +1 on our Life Orb Talonflame. Let's see. And it would redirect the Psyblade into the Ursa. So you could say, you can go Leaf Blade here, but, like, you see, like, we just want to make sure that thing goes down. It's protects on cooldown. Usually when you nuke those mons who protects on cooldown. The cool thing about this is we have a flying and a ghost, which means you're going to have to run into one of them as a single target, which means you have to get that stat drop. And now we can come in with, you know, any of these guys are a lot of value. The fact that we still have a Tailwind means we probably outspeed right here. They still have Terra, which is, like, technically a problem, but I don't think it's, like, the end of the world. I think what we probably can do is just try and rip like a Brave Bird into the Ursa, and probably also just Drain Punch the Ursa. You just double into the Ursa because we're not afraid of Mind Shout. If you protect, you're taking chip. You're fake outing there, I don't particularly care. Look at that damage. Look at that. +1 off the life orb. Takes out the -1 Ursa. Easiest peasiest game of our life. Last mom, what is it? Noivern. Sounds like a good job for Ice Punch, right? So they can only have 1 sash. So I think the right play is to probably just Ice Punch, like double into the Noivern. Yeah, they just scoop it up. Easy peasy, right? So you see like the line with coaching, it's one of those things where it's like, when your opponent has like that one little passive turn, you just get like a massive like boost. But that's the cool thing is like if they have like a passive team, you can weave in those coachings on your Ogre Pawn, on your Valiant, on your Talonflame. There's so many cool things you can do with it.
That's awesome.
Cool. All right. So did anyone else have any questions? Like I'll probably end up calling it here if no one else had any more teams. But I think it was fun. I'm probably going to upload this to YouTube on one of the side channels. And I'll get better at doing this little session and we'll feature more teams and go over more stuff. You know, I'm nervous doing these sessions with like, you know, multiple people watching. So I'm just still trying my best.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll try to bring something next time.
Yeah,
Are you
cool.
doing ZA as well, or
Yeah, we
just...
can definitely fix like ZA teams. We can't really we might be able to test them, I think, but we'll definitely be able to fix ZA teams and talk about like how this is the right mom for this one and have other suggestions for Pokemon that can fill the same roles.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Right on, man.
Awesome.
I think you did a great job. It was awesome.
Well, thank you both for stopping by. You know, we had a couple other people leave a little bit earlier, but yeah, thank you both for stopping by. Appreciate it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Try and do these once a week if possible.